welcome back to Trekyards. He is very official looking, Commander Cockings.
Well, I was summoned to this tribunal this episode, wasn't I? I mean...
You were.
Yes, I'm Conor Coggins, he's Conor Foley. Hello, welcome back.
We're here today to review or talk about Season 2, Episode 2 of Strange New Worlds at Astra per Aspera, which means to the stars through hardship.
That was known as the Trial of Una. And then back to status quo. Just like with La and Lost. Burning through Season 1 plot threads real quick, aren't we, Stuart?
Yep, and that's good.
So,
I'm
Stuart,
happy with this.
what do you think of Season 2, Episode 2?
I was happy to see a 57-minute mark, but it was very wordy. It was very much just a courtroom procedural, and it was all right for me. I mean, it was very well written. I love the social commentary that they had sprinkled in there. It was quite interesting. I was right when we talked about this last week, where there would be no B or C plot. It was very focused, which I didn't really expect. I didn't expect it to be all courtroom stuff, but I think it was very well done. Kudos to the writers, everybody. Honestly, it's a fantastic episode. But for me, it just wasn't super exciting or engaging. It was good. It was good.
I mean, there's a reason we started Trekyards, focused on the ship's tech, alien makeup uniforms. So obviously our slant is slightly more towards the inter-universe stuff. There was none of that really this week. Of course, there was a little bit, but it was not any of that, right? So obviously looking at it in other ways, 57 minutes, it could have done with the B plot, something else to kind of give it some variance. But it's good. And it doesn't have the Measure of the Man extra sci-fi, really, really nice sci-fi-ness. And that, as for me personally, Measure of Man is far more engaging. And also the Patrick's performance is incredible. Measure of Man, as is Brent's, as is Riker. I liked everyone in it, but there wasn't to me so much a standout, like a standout. Everyone was kind of on a similar good plane. If that makes sense, which is kind of good as an ensemble piece, right? Which I liked. The friend / girlfriend captain / prosecutor, great. I loved her nuance. I hope she comes back. I hope she's in the captain's chair doing captain things. Una was great, but she's not a character that emotes. That's kind of part of the point. So she only brought so much, right? It's a stoic performance. And Pike was fun. Not Pike. April was fun to get sort of, he had the hardest role, I think. He's like, well, I love her, like as a friend, but also broke the rule and I'm an admiral. But also I'm an admiral to them. But also, I liked his scene. I think the most out of all the scenes. It was the most like there's most meat on those bones. Is what I felt.
Now, as far as courtroom Star Trek, we've got like Drumhead, we've got Measure of a Man, we've got Court Martial. For me, I'm gonna have to say that I enjoyed Drumhead, Court Martial, and Measure of a Man more than this one. This one, like I said, it was good. It was well written. It was well done. However, it just didn't have anything to kind of grab me. The other ones I would definitely watch ahead of this one. So what about you with the other, those ones I named?
Well, the problem is, you all have your own personal interest in the story. I was never super interested in the Illyrian Una story anyway. You knew that from last season. It didn't engage me super well. She clearly broke the rules. Let's see what happens. But it felt more clear-cut than like Measure of a Man, which is like, ooh, this is a really big ethical story for me personally, how I interpret it. So this one's like, okay, we're going to do this story I'm not mega engaged in. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't, middle of the pack for me.
I like what you said about it being a little too long. With 57 minutes, I was expecting a B plot when I saw the length. I mean, some other episodes I think justify the longer runtime. This one, I think they could have tightened things up a bit and not had it be quite so long.
Although I will commend the lawyer Illyrian lady. I thought she had a really, really nice performance, and again, very difficult because she can't overly emote because that would make her look ridiculous in court. So again, limited by the lawyer persona, to see her kind of be professional within this clearly very emotive. I thought she did a phenomenal job in. But there's never this moment again, except in the April scene where she kind of like pushed. That I thought was like the best scene. And again, I'll go back to it. You broke the Prime Directive 3 times. We can name off the top of my head. This is a rule that's less important. How come you didn't get court-martialed? That was phenomenal, and her pushing and that was great. But none of the scenes really grabbed me the same. Una did a good scene.
A lot of social parallels for sure, with different things throughout history that were all kind of mentioned, which was great. What Star Trek does best. So that was really awesome. But you are right. The acting was phenomenal. There were some very subtle moments where the lawyer teared up a little bit during the speech, and Una did as well. It was all very subtle and very well done. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't too flat.
It was very. I mean, it was very TOS. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But we didn't quite have the charismatic Spock, Bones, McCoy to come in. Pike was very sidelined. He stole several scenes he was in, just his little cheeky smirks. And April again, he wasn't quite that same. Like, who was bringing the distinct charm, right? You got the Vulcan, you got 4 lawyers. They can't act as much as they would want to because they're lawyering.
But the visuals were great. I loved the way the courtroom looked, even though you could tell it's just exactly Starfleet headquarters from Discovery. All the the things behind them, and even the thing at the end of the hallway behind Una. It all looked fantastic. The uniforms, I think, were great. A nice modification and modernization of what you're wearing there.
I don't love the epaulets, but that's because they're trying to carry on with the Admiral's uniform. So that, following to theme versus personal preference for me.
Personally, I kind of like the uniforms with the epaulets. Whatever.
They're a bit too costumey to me, the epaulets versus uniform.
Yeah,
their deliberate choice to be showy versus functional. It feels like the rest of them are great. Yeah.
Such a great TOS look with the medals and stuff that they have on them.
And I commend them. They did everything that was TOS. They utilized and just tweaked a bit. They didn't throw anything away. They didn't. That's how you should do it, right? A gentle modernization, even having floppy disk data. Love when they use it several times. Always got to commend them for that.
And another thing I was expecting and didn't get was when she sat in the chair to hear Commander Una, blah, 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 and go through a listing of all of her, her serial number and all of the medals, very much like court martial with Kirk. I was kind of expecting that. Didn't happen, but hey, at least they got the hands, the scanner thing on the chair. That was great. This was.
Well,
very
it should
TOS.
be there. So it was there.
Yeah, very TOS in its look, which is awesome.
And double commending that Tellarite. Boy, he was a TOS Tellarite. Hats off to you, makeup team. He was weird and I love it. We're going to look at him because that was a really nice Tellarite. I wish he had more lines because I was searching for his show prep and trying to find there's one close-up of him. Give him more lines. He was in the makeup chair for 9 hours. God, give him more stuff to do.
One of my favorite things, though, was when the 2 Vulcans, Spock and the other guy, were talking. And Ortegas is like, oh, well, yeah, you understand the logic of having to put your friend in. And Benga's like, do you not see it? Body language. They hate each other. And then Spock's like, sorry, I had to witness that outburst. That was great. Absolutely love that scene. La'an was good in this episode. I thought she was. They rode that fine line of maybe get Admiral April in trouble. We can get Pike in trouble. Then La'an, they kind of hint yes, you're related to Kanini and Singh. Do you still have some genetic modifications that you think are beneficial to you? She says yes. They could have gone so many different ways, and I love how it was shot down each time. And I was kind of
surprised how little they utilized that plot thread because she's a security officer. It's implied that she's got extra abilities, at least minimally. She's genetically engineered via DNA. Why is she in Starfleet then? Or she isn't genetically modified whatsoever, in which case, what's the point in calling Kanu and Singh? And then it says, they can, then it just takes 6 generations to leave. I thought that was going to be a point. Because you kind of get the sense she's got, enhanced strength, not necessarily like a Lara from Orville, but they entirely sidelined but you were genetically modified 7 generations ago. You're in stuff.
I thought it was very much going to go down the Drumhead route of starting to persecute everybody, and they kind of started with April, and then they went with the Pike thing, and it's I really thought it was going to take that turn, and it didn't, which I appreciate.
And what do you think of the they spend 48 minutes on one argument, and then they win on a technicality? What do you think of that bit? So I was wondering how they're going to get out of it. It seemed very... still pretty... Here we go, and then technicality.
I don't know anything about legal issues, really. I thought that was a weird technicality to get... Because, he granted her asylum, but in my mind, as a judge or as the legal system, I'd still be like, yeah, but now that we know the truth, sure, she can have the charges dropped, essentially. but I think she should also lose her commission if they're going to stick with that. Like, it just seemed weird to like just everything's all fine now. Everything's exactly back to what it was. Seemed a little odd, but I don't know anything about legalities. It's probably very likely, how things would happen. I feel like there should have been other repercussions.
Well, it makes you wonder, and I'm not equating directly, but I'm just saying this is a big crime, is what she was accused of. 20 years in prison, right? So it's a big crime. So if there was a criminal on a planet who slaughtered a colony of people for a reason, and they asked for asylum, and then years later it was revealed, is the crime then wiped? I mean, I guess yes, but they're separate things.
Yeah, I thought the whole Pike granting her asylum and whatever, I think would have solved the Pike problem, where Pike did nothing wrong as a captain. But I didn't think it would be the solution to the overall problem of her getting.
And also, he didn't offer asylum. That was never in the dialogue of season 1. That is absolutely a misrepresentation of what happened. He might have done it after the scene, but we never saw it. So I got the sense Ansem would say, just don't have me on oath, because otherwise I'll say that didn't happen. I mean, they could have happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. It's like, that's exactly what happened. It's like, it's not really the situation, but if we're going to go with that, sure, you can legally and technically see what we did.
Because wouldn't an asylum need to be put into the log? Otherwise, it's just I gave her asylum 9 years ago, sure. It's like, well,
yeah, you think you'd have to run that through the mission logs and the logs back to the admirals to say, I granted asylum to this person for this reason.
And if you're arguing that he did grant asylum just before she told everybody that she was Illyrium, then obviously they would know that going into the case, and they should have won in the first 5 seconds. So that felt like a giant, this thing that didn't happen, we'll use it to... As an oddity. It's like introducing it's a Deus Ex Machina, right? Let's introduce this one thing that, whatever. And I was shocked to see her in uniform at the end, because I could buy the asylum stops her from being in jail. Why would it let her be in Starfleet still? They're entirely...
That's what I was saying.
They're entirely different propositions, because that means it overrides all of the laws just because she's pardoned from being prosecuted. But it doesn't equate the right to be in Starfleet. I was expecting a second episode where she's now free, and then she has to find another loophole to be in Starfleet still, or be a freelancer for a few episodes. There's a disconnect there of...
Well, when they listed the charges, it was like lying on a Starfleet application, sedition. Like, those things still apply. She still lied on her application to get into Starfleet many, many, many years before she met Pike. So that's kind of what the trial was about. That's why it's confusing to me. I'm sure there are legal precedents, and again, I don't know my legalities. Didn't go to law school or anything.
Seems like just a very strong loophole if it can literally override every other thing that's... I mean, just off Bill Asylum then. I know there was 3 parts to it, but the asylum was the important bit. That was the very useful thing to know for the future then. We'll just claim asylum on things and get away with crimes. I mean, that's what they're saying, right? Because they didn't even fight it. Like, oh, of course that's the rule. So now you can just lose that specific rule as a loophole to get away with things. With the criteria applying, but you can now use that directly as a loophole to get away with literal giant crimes.
Yeah, it should have been like, well, Pike can't be prosecuted now for not telling us. Okay, that's done. Let's move on with the rest of the trial.
Yeah. Or just like I say, she's honorably discharged and not prison. That I thought was going to be the nice end, which is a hell of a victory.
Yeah.
Like, that's the... But then the Starfleet thing. And now it's reset and nothing happened. It feels very odd to me, the ending.
It does. No, I'm right there with you. As far as writing goes and acting, I think it was very well done. A very good episode of television. But it's not really in my Star Trek wheelhouse.
But that's the joke, isn't it, as well? You often say, Guardian Forever, great episode, not your favourite Star Trek, because it doesn't have what you want necessarily from your favourite episodes. So this, I think, falls in the same category.
Oh, yeah,
This is Enterprise, which is like the same level of caliber of writing, scripting, character, and all the Star Trek element laid on top. With obviously Measure of Man being... There's a lot of Star Trek in it. It's a bit more of that balance. Although my last note is I commend... Because they've got to be careful with each character lives into a future persona. The fact that Uhura just said flat out no, big old moment for her.
She did that last week too, with upgrading her panel. She's like, no.
This was very like by the book. Like the way she did that, I guess the acting here felt really, really on point. Like professional, caring, really well known. Felt very honestly Nichelle Nicholsy. Like I can see a parallel here, and kind of surprising because normally, especially as we're both looking for a B plot, like that's a B plot. Like, oh, do a secret co-op thing, psyop thing, and look into the records and find a secret spy. That's a B. Oh no.
Well, she said to the we'll have to find another way to do it because I'm not going to do that. So I thought, yes, those two are going to do something to have evidence arrive last minute that changes the game, which happens a lot in these court episodes. Comment down below what you thought about this. If you did take law or understand legal things better than we do, let us know in the comments if this was...
We're ship knowers, not law knowers.
Yeah, exactly. So let us know in the comment section what you thought about this episode. By all means, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please join us when we do all of our lives and cool stuff.
And support what we do here, if you can and would like to, monthly on Patreon/Trekyards, or join the channel at any of the ranks on YouTube, on Trekyards, or one-time donations, super chatting on our lives, super thanksing on any video, including literally our episode 0. Go back and show your love if you'd like to, or buy a shirt, link down below.
So until next time, he is Commander Cockings.
Captain Foley.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.